Leading companies around the world want to solve this problem, and they want to be leaders, not just in their own sector, but in solving what is one of the greatest global imperatives, which is to solve climate change now. And they're reaching out to WWF because of our global reach and our expertise. And the main venue by which that happens is Climate Savers. It's a program by which we partner with companies in setting targets for CO2 emissions reductions, helping them achieve those targets over time. And so we have some of the most famous companies in the world partnering with us, setting targets through Climate Savers, and by 2010, they will have collectively reduced their emissions by 50 million tons of CO2, which is the equivalent of taking 11 million cars off the road.
Our climate witnesses have illustrated the impact that climate change can have, but there are still many doubters out there. How real is climate change?
99.9% of the scientific community agrees that climate change is real, it's caused by humans, and it's getting worse. And a lot of the projections they've made about what's going to happen in the Arctic, what kind of desertification are we going to see in Africa, what kind of changes in weather and disease and crop destruction are all getting exceeded by reality. It is clear with every year that passes that we need to act, and we need to act soon.
How real is the concern of companies today? Is there still a lot of greenwashing going on?
The way to weed out the wheat from the chaff in terms of greenwashing and real leadership is by measurable targets. Companies setting targets on reducing their CO2 emissions and tracking that over time and taking steps to make it real.
The global recession has led to an unprecedented cut in greenhouse gas emissions. Is this providing a unique opportunity to steer away from high carbon growth into an environmentally sustainable direction?
It's a huge opportunity. HSBC estimated that 38% of China's stimulus package went to green investments. 12% of the U.S.'s stimulus package went to clean energy efficiency. It's an opportunity for any country to rebuild its economy around solving one of the world's great problems. Whoever solves those problems will invent methods and technologies that the world will demand, and that'll just create more jobs over the long run.
How critical is it to secure a global deal in Copenhagen? What are your expectations?
It's enormously important. It's a global problem. A ton emitted in Indonesia affects us just as much as a ton emitted in New York City. So it is fundamental to bring the world together for nations to make commitments and then to help steer technology and money to those places where it will make the greatest difference.
China and the U.S. are the world's largest polluters. However, China is stepping up its game, pledging to decrease the carbon intensity of its economy and to invest in green energy. Is China leaping ahead of the U.S. in terms of climate leadership?
Absolutely. There's no question. You mentioned the carbon intensity targets that China set. HSBC estimates that China has invested almost 3 times as much in their stimulus package as the U.S. has in these energy industries. And it's just smart for China to do so. It has so many people. They're bringing so many people out of poverty. And it's been demonstrated over and over again that clean energy is more sustainable than relying on fossil fuels. So if you can heat and provide energy to buildings using solar or wind power, that'll last forever. Whereas fossil fuels clearly is something that is a finite resource and will run out of it.
Looking beyond Copenhagen, 10, 15 years from now, will the world be able to come together, cut the corner on climate change, and truly tackle it?
The world must come together and tackle climate change. Of all the scenarios that the scientists predict, some of them are so horrific that we must come together and solve this problem before we lose big chunks of our economy, before the poorest people in the world suffer even more than they do now. It is an imperative. It's one of the greatest imperatives that we have.